You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. They say America is the land of the free, the beacon of justice and the symbol of fairness to the world. But how true is that when a man can be locked away for years based on flimsy allegations, biased prosecutions and media hysteria? Today we're going to talk about the ongoing injustice faced by R. Kelly, and how his continued incarceration is a stain on the American justice system. R. Kelly, a name synonymous with R&B greatness, has been reduced to a target by a justice system seemingly intent on making an example out of him regardless of the facts. And while many who are not critical enough are content to accept what the headlines have told them, those of us who have looked deeper know that the truth tells a very different story. Let's begin by examining one of the most serious and outrageous charges leveled against him, and that is forced labor. According to the government, R. Kelly forced Geronda Pace to write letters confessing to things she hadn't done and detailing supposed plans to harm him. But anyone with even a rudimentary understanding of law knows that being asked to write letters even if under pressure does not meet the legal threshold for forced labor. Forced labor under U.S. law requires proof that someone was made to work against their will through threats of serious harm, physical restraint or abuse of law or legal process, and over a long time. Writing letters, no matter how emotionally charged the circumstances might be, simply does not constitute labor in the legal sense. There was no physical work, no service provided for commercial gain, and no laborious task. And crucially, Geronda Pace herself was free to leave. The charge, when held up to scrutiny, collapses under the weight of its own absurdity. Yet R. Kelly remains behind bars paying for the same. Then there's the infamous Mann Act charges. Allegations that R. Kelly transported individuals across state lines for illegal sexual activity. The problem with these charges lies in the requirement for criminal intent. The law was designed to prevent the trafficking of individuals for illicit purposes. In these cases, there's no solid evidence to prove that any of the trips taken were arranged with criminal intent. Relationships, however controversial or frowned upon in the court of public opinion, are not crimes unless they meet specific legal standards. The government's case leaned heavily on retrospective interpretations of consensual relationships using witnesses whose credibility has been widely questioned. Where was the clear documented intent? Where was the proof that these trips were pre-planned with illegal purposes in mind? It wasn't there. And perhaps the most egregious charge of all was the application of RICO statutes, laws originally created to dismantle organized crime syndicates like the mafia against an individual R&B singer and his inner circle. To convict someone under RICO, the prosecution must demonstrate the existence of an ongoing criminal enterprise engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity with a common purpose to commit crime. In R. Kelly's case, however, there was clearly no such illegal enterprise. There was no illegal business carried out with a common purpose. The so-called enterprise was merely a collection of employees, managers, assistants and friends, all legally working in roles common to the entertainment industry. We saw no documented coordinated criminal activity, no financial crimes, no drug trade and no violent acts. Just a celebrity and his entourage doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing in the music promotions business. The government's justification for using RICO was to sidestep statutes of limitations, and to sweep in decades-old allegations that wouldn't stand on their own in a fair trial. That's not justice. That's weaponizing the law against citizens. Shockingly, despite the weakness of these charges and the flimsy evidence supporting them, R. Kelly remains imprisoned. And while new facts, testimonies and inconsistencies in the prosecution's case have surfaced, there's been little movement toward granting him the justice he deserves. Witnesses like Geronda Pace have come under scrutiny with contradictions in their stories and their motivations called into question. The prosecution's reliance on figures like Michael Avenatti, a man later convicted of serious federal crimes, further tarnishes the integrity of the case against Kelly. Moreover, leaked prison emails and phone calls illegally accessed and distributed to media outlets have also shown a clear pattern of misconduct aimed at prejudicing both the public and potential jurors against him. These are serious violations of privacy and due process, yet they've been conveniently ignored by those eager to see a conviction. The truth is, R. Kelly's continued imprisonment represents a broader problem in the American justice system. The ease with which public sentiment, media narratives and prosecutorial overreach can conspire to deny an individual their basic rights. It's a chilling reminder that in America innocence isn't always enough. When courts allow dubious evidence, ignore clear breaches of protocol and uphold charges that defy both legal definition and logical reasoning, it sets a dangerous precedent for everyone. If it can happen to a famous entertainer under the intense scrutiny of the public eye, it can surely happen to anyone.
What the actual bond is being set in this case.
The mere fact that someone may have been charged with other cases in other jurisdiction is not a basis to increase bond. It's not a basis under the statute. It's not a basis under the case law. They don't argue that he's an increased flight risk. They don't argue that he's an increased danger.
Say that the defendant does have additional charges, and that absolutely is appropriate to bring before this court to ask that his bond be increased. He does have additional charges.
Based upon the fact that there's 4 cases, there's $250,000 D bond on each one of the cases, plus pretrial services, which I thought was appropriate based upon the information that I had regarding Mr. Kelly.
We must demand better. We must insist on fairness, not just for the people we agree with or approve of, but for everyone. Justice isn't justice if it isn't applied equally. R. Kelly's legal battles are far from over, and there's still time for the system to correct itself. But it will take public awareness, advocacy, and a willingness to challenge the narratives we've been fed. Let's stand on the side of truth and not just popular opinion. Let's demand a system where evidence matters more than headlines and where due process is more than a slogan. In the meantime, stay tuned, stay informed, and never be afraid to question the official story. Thank you for watching. If you want to be featured in our video releases, send us your clips by emailing them to hnnewsroom242@gmail.com or use Google Drive for larger files. Be sure to include your name and any details you'd like us to know. We can't wait to showcase your contributions. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say. To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.